I cannot believe that this generation of Mazda 3 has been around for so long. When the Mazda 3 Turbo has come out, many people thought it's going to compete with the sportier vehicles, like the Volkswagen GTI, the Civic Si, and Hyundai Elantra N. And this made sense at the moment in 2021 because Mazda has always been about this zoom mentality and making everything fun to drive. But I want to argue in this video that this car actually competes with other luxury brands such as Mercedes, Audi, and BMW. And to be more precise, it competes with the Mercedes CLA 250, the Audi A3, and the BMW G-Series Gran Coupe. And actually, if you're looking for an entry-level luxury performance car, you should not go further than Mazda 3 Turbo. And this product is a representation that Mazda is going premium rather than sporty. But that doesn't mean that this car is not fun to drive. And after all, it has all-wheel drive system and the 2.5-liter turbocharged engine with 227 horsepower on 87 octane. And if you go for a 93 octane, you'll get 250 horsepower. And it has just a little bit over 300 pound-feet of torque for both 87 octane and 93 octane. And the first way this vehicle competes with the German luxury brands is the exterior. This car has come out 7 years ago, and it still looks modern, classy, elegant, and it seems to have an eternal design. Lots of car reviewers mentioned that this car is going to age well, and all of them were absolutely right. I like Mazda's unique grille that comes on all of their cars, especially with this ceramic metallic exterior color. So with the turbo package, you get this two-tone exterior with these great wheels, which are 18-inch, which are also very classically designed, just as the rest of the car. We also get the black mirror caps and the turbo badge in the back. So if you didn't notice those black accents, you wouldn't be able to tell if it's a turbo model or not. And this is great for people who want to drive a car that doesn't shout about its performance and trims. But now we're going to talk about practicality. And we'll start with the trunk space, because this is the sedan form of the Mazda 3. I noticed on the forums that people are in two camps. One camp likes the hatch, the other one likes the sedan, but there is a small number of people who like both. And I'm one of them. But if we look at the trunk space, it actually goes deeper than you expect. And I think you can fit so much stuff in here, so some of you should consider the sedan form as well, especially because you can save some money by going for a sedan, which costs less in the US and Canada. And of course, in the classic Mazda fashion, you get a spare tire. Isn't that magnificent? And like in most sedans, you can pull these guys to gain even more space if you want it. And I think Mazda 3 excels in these little details that actually make this car a great package overall. So let's check the back seat of the Mazda 3. We'll jump right in. I'm 5'8". This driver's seat is configured for myself, and I got enough room for my knees and for my feet. So I asked my friend who is 6'3" to sit behind myself, and he got just enough knee room, but not lots of headroom. But you can fit comfortably 2 average-sized adults in the back. It would be nice to have at least some vents here for your practicality in the back. But other than this, you get really good materials on your doors, and it definitely helps the car look more sophisticated from the inside. The seats themselves are very comfortable, and by the way, this is the red garnet interior that comes with the turbo model and this exact color. And what I noticed as well with the sedan form is that you don't get the black headliner. You can only get the black headliner with the hatchback form. So I found this a little disappointing because the black headliner just feels and looks more premium. So let's go and check out the front seat interior of the Mazda 3. But before we start, let's actually start the engine. And a quick life hack for you, if you want to avoid listening to those chimes, you can just put your seatbelt on before you start the vehicle. And the first thing you notice is great minimalism and overall very high quality of all materials throughout the interior. I especially like the fact that you get very soft materials for high traffic areas, such as your armrest on both sides. The front dash is very soft and very premium to the touch. And specifically with this interior, you get this red stitching all over the dash. You get all physical buttons for all the important stuff you want to do with your car, such as the AC, which is very intuitive to use, and all the knobs and switches feel high quality. You also get a physical shifter, which is so nice. You get this physical knob for your infotainment, which is very easy to use once you get used to the whole system. And personally, I find it easier to use than the touchscreen in some cases. So sometimes, if I want to go into Spotify, I just have to touch this button and I'm in Spotify right away. If I want to go back to Google Maps, I just hit the navigation button and it takes me less than a second to do so. And I don't need to take my eyes off the road as well. You get a volume knob right next to this control knob in the middle, and it is so intuitive to use. And again, you don't need to take your eyes off the road because you know the size of the knobs, so you can differentiate between them. Sadly, we don't get the physical handbrake, so we have to use this e-brake instead. And the digital cluster is old school again. You only get one 7-inch display in the middle, which is honestly not very configurable. You only get 3 screens. So the first one is the speedometer, the second one is the fuel economy, and the third one is the adaptive cruise control. And you get this illumination button, which is very easy to use to change the brightness of your displays. You get great physical buttons to the left of the steering wheel, where you can choose the camera view, which is in this car 360 degrees and is very high res. I actually find it very useful for tight parking situations. And you get the front camera as well with the back camera. And of course you get the premium Bose system in this car. And honestly, it is one of the better audio systems in this segment. And I'm pretty sure it can also compete with the likes of BMW, Mercedes, and Audi again. As I have mentioned before, it's the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine with lots of torque. If you use 87 octane, you get 310, and if you use 93 octane, you get 320 pound-feet of torque. You get a turbo badge here as well to let you know that you are driving not a normal Mazda 3. But with this, let's actually go for a drive and discuss how this car can compete with the luxury brands in terms of its driving experience. By the way, the steering wheel feels so luxurious and I like the look of it. It definitely reminds me of some Porsche steering wheels for sure. And since we have touched upon the steering, it is actually very heavy. I wasn't expecting this for a luxury car, but it actually makes sense from a Mazda standpoint. It feels very old school because you are getting some feedback through the steering wheel, which is great if you like sporty handling and sporty steering. But one of the disadvantages is that it's harder to park the vehicle. You just have to put more effort with your hands to move the steering wheel left and right. And the upside, of course, is that it gives you a more sportier feel, and at the same time, if you are in the middle of the corner, you can make those micro adjustments to your steering. And as I have mentioned before, Mazda is going for a more premium feel in this Mazda 3. And that's why everything is kind of smoothed out. For example, the throttle response is very smooth, and when you're braking, you actually have to go deep into the pedal to feel your car stopping. Since we are driving the turbocharged model, all of the torque, actually lots of torque, is available very low in the ref range. You get all 310 pound-feet of torque from 2000 RPM to 5000 RPM. And due to this reason, I get mixed feelings about this car as well. Because on one hand, It is great to have this much power, and the acceleration is actually very, very nice. But on the other hand, this engine doesn't like to be revved high. After 5,000 RPM, your torque kind of dies, and you don't get as much horsepower. So it is great to have this power down low when you're driving in the city, because you don't ever feel like you need more power from your engine. But as soon as you're trying to do more spirited driving, you notice this not eagerness to rev. But still, it doesn't mean that this car isn't fun. If you understand where you want to be in the rev range, you can still utilize the manual mode in this car and get in the right gear. Let me actually show you how the engine sounds like. It's like a very low frequency grunt, which I quite like, to be honest. So let's examine the downshift. I downshift once, twice. If you stay in sport mode and you disengage the traction control, it will actually hold gears for you, and it will not upshift, which is pretty cool. Let me show a quick acceleration from the stern. We're in sport mode. Yeah, this car is properly quick. And honestly, the best part of Mazda 3 is that you always feel like you're driving something special. From the interior perspective, from the exterior perspective, and from the driving experience. Because you get this huge power whenever you want, like this. It's just so fun. But let's also not forget that this car is not cheap. This car, as tested, is $42,000 Canadian. I believe you can get a turbo model of the Mazda 3 in the US for as low as $33,000 US. And that's why I'm arguing that the Mazda 3 is actually competing against some entry-level luxury cars. And when you think about it in this way, it all makes sense. Let's test the acceleration right here. It doesn't get old, guys. This torquey turbo engine never disappoints. Many car enthusiasts like me probably wished this car to be a little more sporty, a little bit more edgy, but we didn't get a new Mazda Speed 3, and I think that's okay. And of course, we can still buy cars such as the Civic Si, the Volkswagen GTI, the Hyundai Elantra N, the Subaru WRX. There's lots of options out there if you want a little bit more of a sporty experience. The turbo model doesn't come with the manual, but you can actually get a manual Mazda 3 still from the dealership, but you have to go with the 2.5 naturally aspirated engine. And I think if you are an enthusiast, the best choice for you is to actually go for this manual option. You can feel the harsh suspension on these bumps, for sure. But again, it's all about the priorities. If you would like a more sportier suspension, you should be happy with this. Another Mazda 3. This one is a hatchback. Great choice. Let's actually test out the cruise control. So all you do is tap this button, and then you set the speed you want and the preferred distance from the car in front of you. It will reduce the speed, increase the speed for you, and it will actually work in stop and go situation as well. You can also engage the steering assist if you want, and once it will detect the lines, it will keep you in your lane. And it's actually doing a decent job, as you can see, of holding you in your lane. But of course, it is preferable for you to hold your hand on the wheel all the time. You also notice the well-insulated cabin on the highway as well. Very little noise from the road and from the tires. yeah, once you get on the better pavement, it is such a great highway cruiser. And with the combination of all of the stuff I mentioned before, this car becomes a great entry-level luxury option. And I named this video, Don't Buy That Audi Yet, because I think you can get 90% of all of the stuff you get from other brands, such as Mercedes, Audi, and BMW. Inevitably, the maintenance is going to be cheaper on the Mazda 3, and arguably, the resale value for the Mazda 3 is also going to be better. And that's why I think it makes it a great value, especially if you're looking for an entry-level luxury car. You can save so much money by getting one of these. And let's throw it in this corner as well. It's very planted, and the handling is superb. Even though it's a front-wheel biased platform, it's still very good. Such a beautiful sunset. Let's throw ourselves in one other corner. We'll downshift. The downshifts are pretty quick, I told you guys. It's very neutral, mid-corner. Great power out of the corner. Just overall, very nice experience driving this car spiritedly. Of course, it would have been more fun to drive this car with the manual transmission, but still, this car can be very fun to drive if you want it. And once you finish your spirited driving, you can go back into normal mode. And again, this car doesn't have any gimmicks. You only get two modes. One is sport and one is normal. No eco, smart, and whatever else. And you can enjoy a quiet highway experience with great audio system and nice looking interior. And just like Topher, I think that if you pair this Mazda 3 Turbo with the MX-5 Miata, it could be an ideal two-car garage solution. As I have mentioned before, even though this car has become a somewhat luxury car, it is still great for car enthusiasts because you still get very precise steering, great handling abilities, nice torquey engine, and actually very impressive performance numbers when it comes to 0 to 60 times. This car still has a very small footprint, very easy to park in the city due to its smaller size. So I think if you are considering buying the Audi A3, the Mercedes CLA 250, or the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe, you have to put this car on your list. So hopefully, if you are in the market for one of these, you found this review useful. And as always, stay safe out there, keep enjoying the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!